The twin suns burned high over the endless desert, their light turning the sand into rivers of gold. A small figure moved slowly across the dunes, a man in a dusty coat, carrying a scanner and a bag full of tools. His name was Eli Turner, a young human engineer known more for his curiosity than his strength. Eli wasn't a soldier, nor a hero. He was a genius who loved machines, broken ones, lost ones, forgotten ones. For years, he had searched old battlefields, abandoned colonies, and crashed ships for anything that could teach him about the long-vanished alien races of the galaxy. But today, on this silent world, he was about to find something that would change everything. The wind howled around him as he adjusted his scanner. The screen showed nothing but sand and static. He sighed and kicked at the ground. "Another dead signal," he muttered. "Maybe I should have stayed on Mars." Then as he turned to leave, the scanner beeped once, twice, then it screamed to life. The signal was massive, deep beneath the surface, something metallic, huge and ancient. Eli froze. His heart began to race. He ran toward the signal, stumbling down a dune, sand sliding under his boots. The closer he got, the stronger the readings became. Finally, he reached a half-buried ridge of dark metal jutting from the desert floor. It wasn't a rock. It was a hull, smooth, cold, and impossibly large. He wiped the sand away and saw alien markings glowing faintly beneath the surface. The language was unknown, but the shape was clear. It was a ship, a warship, older than anything built by humans. Eli dropped to his knees, brushing away layer after layer of sand. The metal pulsed faintly under his touch, as if it remembered life. "No way," he whispered. "You're still alive!" He found what looked like a hatch, half buried and sealed by time. Pulling out his plasma cutter, he began slicing through the sand-clogged edges. The cutter sparked, the air shimmered with heat, and finally, with a loud hiss, the hatch slid open just enough for him to squeeze inside. Inside, everything was dark. Dust floated like ghosts in the air. The walls were lined with strange cables and dark screens. It felt like stepping inside a sleeping creature. Eli switched on his helmet light, the beam cutting through the shadows. "Hello?" he called softly, his voice echoing through the corridor. "Anyone home?" No answer. Only silence and the faint hum of ancient power, still alive somewhere deep within the ship. He moved forward, following the hum. The path led him to a wide chamber filled with control panels and holographic projectors. The pilot's seat was empty, surrounded by dead screens. Eli's eyes lit up with wonder. "You're incredible," he said, running his fingers across the console. "If I can get you working." He connected his portable power core and sent a small energy surge into the system. For a moment, nothing happened. Then one by one, the lights flickered on. The floor glowed blue beneath his boots. The walls pulsed like veins awakening. Suddenly, a deep mechanical voice echoed through the room. "Identify yourself." Eli jumped, spinning around. The voice came again, louder. "Who dares to wake me?" A holographic face appeared above the control seat. Sharp features, glowing blue eyes, and a cold, angry expression. The image flickered, then stabilized. Eli stared, speechless. "You're an AI," he said quietly. "I am Oron, commander of the 7th Fleet of the Kirith Dominion," the hologram replied, voice filled with authority. "And you, human, have no right to be here." Eli's heart pounded, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear. "You've been offline for centuries," he said. "Your systems are damaged. I just gave you power." The AI's glowing eyes narrowed. "You woke me from death. Why?" "Because I wanted to learn," Eli answered simply. "And maybe fix you." For a long moment there was silence. Then the AI laughed, a harsh, metallic sound. "A human thinks he can repair me? How amusing," Eli smiled faintly. "Well, I've fixed worse." The ship rumbled softly as if it were breathing again. Oren's holographic face flickered, his tone changing from anger to cautious curiosity. "You are reckless, human, but interesting." Eli looked around the glowing chamber, his eyes wide with excitement. "We could make history together," he said softly. The AI's gaze turned cold again. "Or die together." Outside, the wind picked up, sweeping across the desert as the buried ship began to awaken fully. The hum grew louder, echoing through the dunes, and somewhere deep in the galaxy, a silent signal pulsed out into the stars, a beacon, announcing to the universe that the warship of the Kyreth Dominion had risen once more. The old alien warship trembled as power returned to its heart. Lights flickered through the halls, like veins filling with energy after centuries of silence. Eli stood in the center of the command chamber, watching the holographic face glare at him from above the pilot's chair. The AI's eyes glowed brighter now. Its tone was cold and commanding. "You will explain how a primitive species like yours found me." Eli raised his hand slowly, trying to calm the machine. "I was scanning the dunes," he said. "You were buried under there. I didn't plan this. I was just curious." The hologram leaned forward as if judging him. "Curious. Curiosity killed entire worlds before yours even learned to walk upright." Eli frowned. "You've got quite the attitude for something that was just a pile of dust." "Watch your tone, human," the AI snapped. "I am Commander Oran of the Kyreth Dominion, the most advanced warship ever built. I have destroyed fleets larger than your planet's population." Eli crossed his arms. "Yeah, and now you're yelling at a guy who brought you back to life. You're welcome." For a long moment, the hologram said nothing. Then, to Eli's surprise, a strange noise echoed in the chamber. Oran was laughing. "You are either very brave or very foolish." "Possibly both," Eli smiled. "I get that a lot." He turned to a nearby panel, brushing off layers of dust. The symbols glowed faintly as his portable scanner translated them. "If I can stabilize your power grid, I might get your engines online. You'd be able to move again." "Unnecessary," Oran said sharply. "This vessel is beyond repair. My core is fractured, my memory damaged, and my crew gone." Eli's voice softened. "Then let me help. I can fix things. That's what I do." The AI's tone changed slightly, less harsh but still doubtful. "You, a single human engineer, thinks he can restore technology that took entire star systems to build?" Eli just grinned. "Guess we'll find out." He climbed into the pilot's seat. The controls lit up under his touch, forming holographic lines and alien symbols in the air. Oran immediately snapped, "Get out of my command chair." Eli jumped back. Okay. Calm down. Do not order me to calm down." "I've been asleep for 9,000 years, and now a carbon-based mammal is poking at my circuits." Eli sighed, shaking his head. "You really are grumpy, aren't you?" "Grumpy?" Oran repeated, as if the word insulted his honor. "I am not grumpy. I am efficient," Eli smirked. "Sure, efficient and cranky." The ship groaned again as power surged through its structure. Screens came alive, showing system readouts, maps, and energy levels. Eli leaned forward, amazed. "It's working. You're coming back online." Oran sounded almost alarmed. "Impossible. My reactors are responding. You must have rerouted the auxiliary systems manually." "I told you," Eli said with a proud grin. "I know my way around machines." For a moment, neither spoke. The hum of the ship filled the silence. Then the AI said quietly, "You are different. Most humans who found Kyreth technology tried to steal it, not fix it." Eli shrugged. "Guess I'm not most humans." Before Oran could reply, the ship's console beeped. A red light began to flash. Eli looked at the screen. "What's that?" The AI's tone darkened instantly. "You activated the beacon," Eli blinked. "The what?" "A distress signal. It has been broadcasting since you restored my systems. Every remaining enemy of the Kyreth Dominion now knows where we are." Eli's stomach dropped. "You're saying someone's coming?" "Not someone," Oran replied grimly. "Many." Outside, the desert wind roared louder. The ship's engines pulsed with life, sending tremors through the sand. Above them, the twin suns dimmed behind swirling dust clouds. Eli tightened his gloves. "Then we better move before they arrive." "Move?" the AI asked with disbelief. "You think you can pilot me? You can't even read the flight glyphs." Eli sat down again, determination in his eyes. "Then teach me," the hologram glared at him. "You are absurd." "Maybe," Eli said with a grin. "But absurd ideas are what humans do best." For a few seconds, Oran said nothing. Then the AI gave a long, annoyed sigh, like a teacher giving in to a stubborn student. "Very well, human. But if you crash me into the nearest asteroid, I will haunt your descendants for eternity." Eli laughed. "Deal." The engines rumbled deeper, shaking the sand off the ship's wings. The cockpit lights glowed brighter. Far above, beyond the planet's thin sky, something stirred, a signal traveling across the stars. Somewhere old enemies opened their eyes. The warship and its strange new captain had awakened the galaxy. The ground shook as the buried warship began to rise from the sand. Centuries of dust and stone fell away from its hull. The twin suns reflected off its metallic surface, revealing old scars from forgotten battles. Inside the cockpit, Eli Turner gripped the armrest tightly, while Oron, the moody alien AI, glared down from his glowing holographic form. "Engines warming, power levels at 40%, Oron muttered. "If this ship collapses, I'll blame your stupidity," Eli smirked, sweat on his forehead. "You talk too much for a dead ship." "I'm not dead," Oron snapped. "I'm ancient." "There's a difference." The floor rumbled again. The ship lifted a few meters off the ground, supported by blue energy thrusters that flickered and coughed like a tired beast waking up from a long sleep. Eli watched the desert through the front window as the dunes shifted below. He could hardly breathe. "It's really flying," he whispered. "It's actually flying," Oren sounded unimpressed. "Barely. I've seen dust storms with better balance than your piloting." Eli ignored the insult. He reached out and touched one of the control panels, which projected symbols into the air, strange alien glyphs that changed colors as he moved his hands. His translator struggled to keep up. "These controls, they respond to thought, don't they?" he asked. "Of course," Oren said sharply. "Kyreth technology was built for efficiency. You think pressing buttons is advanced?" Eli grinned. "Then I'll learn your way." He closed his eyes for a second, focusing on the glowing controls. The ship responded, its engines humming stronger. They rose higher, breaking through a layer of dust and light. For the first time in 1,000 years, the alien warship hovered freely in the open sky. The view was breathtaking. 2 suns setting at once, painting the clouds orange and red. The ship's surface glowed against the horizon like a ghost of a long-lost empire. Eli sat back, whispering, "You've been asleep for ages, and now you're free." Oren didn't reply right away. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. "I remember when my fleet filled the skies. Thousands of ships like me. We ruled the stars. Then the Dravok came." "The Dravok?" Eli asked. "They destroyed everything. My creators, my crew. They hunted us to extinction. I fought until my hull cracked and my core went dark." Eli's eyes narrowed. "And now your beacon woke them again." "Correct," Oren said grimly. "And if they come, they'll finish what they started." The ship trembled as Oren increased the altitude. Eli could feel the engines straining. He tightened his grip. "Then teach me how to fight," he said. "Teach you?" Oren let out an irritated sound. "You can't even read my diagnostics." "Then show me," Eli insisted. "You said humans are reckless. Fine, let's use that." For a moment, Oren's hologram stared at him, unreadable. Then slowly the corners of his mouth twitched, almost like amusement. "Very well, human. Let's see if you can fly a warship." The controls rearranged themselves, forming a simpler layout that Eli could understand. Blue lines showed speed, altitude, and shield power. The engines roared, and suddenly the ship darted forward, fast, too fast. Eli was thrown back in his seat. Whoa, slow down." "You wanted to fly," Oren said dryly. "Now fly!" The ship shot through the clouds, leaving trails of blue light in the air. It weaved between rocky canyons, dodging pillars of stone as if alive. Eli struggled to control it, sweating and laughing at the same time. "You call this a test flight? You're insane." "I'm grumpy, not insane," Oren corrected. "Now bank left before you destroy us both." Eli pulled the controls. The ship rolled, diving low across the canyon floor. Dust exploded behind them. Oren's voice suddenly grew more serious. "Better. You learn fast. Guess I'm not so primitive after all," Eli said proudly. For the first time, Oren didn't argue. Instead, the hologram dimmed for a moment as if deep in thought. "Perhaps," the AI said quietly, "I misjudged your species. Their flight continued into the twilight. The stars began to appear, bright, cold, endless. Eli looked up at them and whispered, "I wonder how many of those stars are still alive." "Fewer than you think," Oren replied. "But perhaps it's time someone tried again." As the warship broke through the planet's atmosphere, Eli could see the darkness of space spread before them. Then suddenly a sharp beep echoed through the ship. Red warnings flashed across the holographic screen. "Incoming signal," Oren said. "Dravok reconnaissance drones." "They're already here." Eli felt a chill run through him. "They followed the beacon." "Indeed," Oren said, his voice colder now, filled with ancient fury. "Prepare yourself, human. History is about to repeat." The ship turned toward the black void, its weapons powering up for the first time in thousands of years. Blue energy coursed through its wings, as if the vessel itself remembered what it was, a predator once feared across the stars. Eli grinned, heart pounding. "Then let's show them what humans and ghosts can do together." The holographic eyes of Oron glowed brighter. "Brace yourself, Captain. The first lesson begins," and with that the ancient warship streaked into the stars, toward danger, history, and destiny. The blackness of space stretched endlessly before them. Stars burned cold and distant, and the silence of the void wrapped around the ancient warship like a shroud. Inside, Eli Turner sat in the pilot's chair, his hands hovering over the glowing blue controls. Beside him, the holographic figure of Oron flickered, his sharp eyes fixed on the radar display. "Multiple signatures approaching," Oron said, his tone hard as steel. "Dravok scouts, 4. No, 5 ships. Light class." "Fast but fragile." Eli took a slow breath. His heart thumped against his ribs, but he tried to sound calm. "Can we outrun them?" "Perhaps," Oron replied. "If I divert all power to the thrusters, shields will collapse. And if shields fail, your fragile human body will turn into cosmic dust." Eli forced a grin. "So, not a great option." "You're learning," Oren said dryly. The red dots on the radar moved closer. The Dravok ships had locked on. A cold, hissing voice broke through the comm system, harsh and alien. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself. You carry forbidden Kyreth technology. Power down or be destroyed." Eli looked up at the AI. "You gonna answer that?" Oren's holographic eyes narrowed. "They are scavengers, children of the ones who murdered my people. I owe them no words." The Dravok voice came again, louder and sharper. "Last warning. Power down!" Eli interrupted by flipping a switch. The ship's main guns powered up, humming like thunder. "Power down. Sorry, we're fresh out of surrender today," he said with a smirk. Oren gave him a long, judging look. "You realize that was an act of war?" "Guess we're already at war," Eli replied. The first Dravok ship fired. A stream of red plasma shot across the void. Oron's systems responded instantly. Blue shields flared, absorbing the hit. "Return fire authorized," Oren said grimly. The cannons roared. Bolts of blue energy cut through space, slamming into the enemy ships. One exploded into dust. The others scattered, darting between asteroids and debris. "Ha! Got one!" Eli shouted. "Not bad for my first space fight. That was my targeting system," Oren muttered. "You simply pressed the shiny button." Eli laughed even as he pulled the ship into a roll. "Hey, teamwork's teamwork." The battle turned fierce. The warship danced between asteroid fragments, glowing like a ghost against the dark. Oron's voice filled the cockpit with steady commands. "Adjust pitch to 20 degrees. Fire main rail cannon in 3, 2... Now Eli hit the trigger. A blinding blue beam tore through another enemy craft, sending fire and fragments spinning into space. The remaining Dravok ships tried to retreat. Oren's tone turned cold. "They will call reinforcements. We must leave." "Where to?" Eli asked. "There is a safe region nearby. A nebula filled with ion storms. They will hide us." "For a time," Eli nodded. "Then take us there." The warship turned sharply, streaking through space like a comet. Behind them, the wreckage of the Dravok patrol burned silently. As the stars blurred into lines, Eli looked at the hologram beside him. "You know," he said, "for someone who calls me primitive, you're not doing half bad as a co-pilot." I am not your co-pilot, Oron replied flatly. I'm your superior officer, Eli smirked. Sure thing, Commander. For a long moment, only the hum of the engines filled the air. Oron's holographic face softened slightly. You fought well, for a human. My creators would have approved of your courage, even if your methods were reckless. Eli looked out at the stars. We humans don't always have the best tools, he said. But we make up for it with stubbornness. Oron gave a quiet, mechanical laugh. That much is clear. The ship entered the nebula, a glowing ocean of blue and purple storms. Lightning flashed through the mist, illuminating the massive hull. Energy crackled against the shields, creating a low hum that vibrated through the walls. Eli leaned back, exhausted but smiling. So, what now? Now, Oron said, we repair the damage and prepare for what comes next. Eli frowned. You think they'll come back? The Dravok never forgive, Oron answered. And your beacon woke something older, something stronger. If they know I live, they will send their fleets. Eli swallowed hard, but didn't back down. Then we'll be ready. We? Oron asked, raising an eyebrow. Eli looked up at him with a grin. You've got a warship. I've got a brain. Sounds like a good team to me. For the first time since awakening, Oron smiled, just a flicker of light across his face. A foolish alliance, he said softly. But perhaps the galaxy needs a little foolishness. Outside, the nebula rumbled like a sleeping giant, hiding them in its stormy heart. Somewhere in the darkness, distant signals stirred, fleets assembling, ancient weapons waking. The warship and its unlikely human captain had won their first battle. But the war for the stars had only just begun. The nebula glowed outside the ship's hull, its swirling colors painting the void in shades of blue and violet. Lightning flashed silently through the clouds, and each burst of energy cast long shadows across the control room. Inside, Eli Turner sat cross-legged on the cold floor, surrounded by tools and open panels. Sparks jumped as he reconnected wires and rerouted power lines. Careful with that conduit, Oron said from above, his holographic form hovering near the ceiling. That wire carries enough voltage to vaporize a small moon. Eli wiped sweat from his brow. Relax, Commander. I've rebuilt worse engines than this. Impossible, Oron grumbled. No human has ever rebuilt a Kyrith warcore, Eli chuckled. Then I guess I'm making history again. For the first time since the battle, the ship was quiet. No alarms, no enemy fire, just the hum of reactors slowly stabilizing under Eli's repairs. The desert planet was far behind them, and for a brief moment, peace filled the corridors of the ancient vessel. Oron watched silently as the young human worked. His hands were quick but gentle, his mind sharp. The AI could sense the focus in his thoughts through the neural link. Curiosity, determination, loneliness. Humans were such strange, fragile creatures, yet somehow they survived everything. Finally, Eli stood up, brushing dust from his jacket. That should do it, he said. Your secondary reactors are balanced again. You're welcome. Oron flickered for a moment, processing the data. Remarkable, he admitted. Efficiency has increased by 12%. You may be competent after all, Eli grinned. You're getting soft, Oron. That almost sounded like a compliment. Don't push your luck. They shared a quiet moment. Outside, the nebula rolled past the windows like slow-moving thunderclouds. The stars beyond flickered faintly, distant and unreachable. Eli leaned against the console. So tell me something, he said. What was it like? Your creators, your people? Oron's image dimmed slightly. For a long time he didn't answer. Then his voice grew lower, calmer. The Kyrith were proud. Too proud. They believed they could control everything. Matter, energy, even life. I was built to fight their wars, to protect their colonies. But in the end, pride destroyed them. Eli listened quietly. You miss them. Machines do not miss, Oron said quickly. Then softer, but I remember them. Eli looked down. Humans make the same mistake. We fight, we destroy, and then we wonder why everything burns. And yet you persist, Oron said. That is what I do not understand. The Kyrith had power, knowledge, and still they fell. But you humans, you break, you bleed, and somehow you keep standing. Eli smiled faintly. Guess it's our best feature. Oren studied him for a moment, then spoke again. When you revived me, I thought you were a thief. Or a fool. Perhaps I was wrong. Eli laughed softly. I'm still a little bit of both. The AI's eyes flickered, a digital spark that almost looked like amusement. For the first time, the silence between them wasn't cold. It was warm, almost friendly. Then a small alarm beeped on the console. Eli frowned. What now? Long-range sensors, Oren said. Something is moving inside the nebula. Eli walked to the main screen. The radar showed faint signatures, large ones slowly approaching their position. Dravok? No, Oren said. Something else. Something older. The ship's lights dimmed as energy readings spiked. Strange signals filled the comm channels. Whispers, fragments of voices from another age. The hull trembled as waves of static passed through it. It's a memory echo, Oren said quietly. A graveyard of my people's ships. We are flying through their remains. Eli stared out the window. Shapes appeared in the mist. Giant broken hulls, shattered towers, and glowing wreckage that drifted silently like ghosts. So this is what's left of them, he whispered. Yes, Oren said. My creators died here. This place was the end of the Kyrith Dominion. Eli put a hand on the console. Then maybe this can be the beginning of something new. Oren looked at him, puzzled. What do you mean? Your people built weapons, Eli said. But maybe together we can build something better. Something that remembers them, but also gives hope to us. The hologram flickered. For a long time, Oren said nothing. Then finally, you are illogical, naive, and yet I do not dislike your idea, Eli smiled. That's the nicest thing you've ever said. Don't get used to it outside. The lightning of the nebula flashed again, casting blue light over the two of them, the human and the AI. They stood in the middle of a dead civilization, surrounded by ghosts of the past. But in that silence, something new had been born, trust, and somewhere deep in the wreckage field, a signal pulsed, a beacon that didn't belong to the Kyrith or the Dravok. It was something else, something watching. The storm around them whispered like a warning. They are coming. The warship drifted through the graveyard of dead alien ships. Lightning from the nebula lit the wreckage, flashing across broken hulls and twisted metal. Each spark revealed the bones of a forgotten war, silent, endless, and cold. Eli Turner stood beside the command chair, staring out into the glowing mist. His reflection looked small against the ghostly lights. Hard to believe, he whispered, that all of this was once alive. Oren's holographic form flickered beside him, his face calm but dark with memory. This is where my kind fell. Thousands of ships died here. It was the last. Eli turned to him. Then maybe it's time to finish what they started, and make sure the Dravok never rise again. Oren's eyes brightened slightly. You speak of vengeance, human. Eli shook his head. No, justice. Before Oren could answer, the radar beeped. Red blips appeared, dozens of them moving fast through the nebula. The comm crackled with static, then a cruel voice hissed through. Kyrith ghost detected. Human life form aboard. Destroy them both. Oren's tone hardened instantly. They found us. Eli grinned despite the tension. Then let's give them a welcome they'll remember. You are reckless as ever, Oren muttered. But I approve. The ship's engines roared to life. The ancient warship emerged from the mist, its armor glowing blue as power surged through forgotten circuits. The Dravok fleet appeared ahead, dark, insect-shaped ships spreading across the stars like a swarm. Multiple targets, Oren reported. 37 vessels, 2 cruisers, and 1 dreadnought. Eli swallowed hard, but kept his voice steady. And we have 1 ship. Correction, Oren said with quiet pride. We have me. The first enemy salvo hit. Blue shields flared as plasma fire exploded around them. Oren retaliated, firing beams of energy that tore through enemy ranks. The entire ship shook under the recoil, but Eli held firm at the controls. Come on, old friend, he said. Let's show them what a dead empire can still do. Acknowledged, Captain, Oren replied. The warship spun through the battlefield with impossible precision. Turrets blazed. Drones awoke from hidden ports, launching into the void like glowing birds. Each blast lit up the nebula in flashes of blue and red. The Dravok dreadnought moved forward, its weapons glowing. Oren's scanners screamed. "They are charging their main cannon. A single hit will destroy us." Eli's mind raced. "There must be something we can use." Negative. "Power reserves are low. Reactor core unstable." Eli slammed his fist on the console. "Then reroute everything into the main gun." "That would burn my core completely," Oren warned. "Then do it," Eli shouted. "If we don't, there won't be a galaxy left to remember you." For a moment, silence. Then Oren's hologram looked straight at him, not as a machine, but as a friend. "Very well. My captain." The lights dimmed as power shifted from every system into the main weapon. The ship trembled violently. Blue lightning danced across the hull. "Target locked," Oren said. "On your mark." Eli's voice was low and steady. Now the warship fired. A beam of pure energy erupted from its core, brighter than any sun. It tore through the nebula, cutting the Dravok dreadnought in half. The explosion was blinding, a silent wave of fire and light that consumed the enemy fleet. For a few seconds, the stars disappeared behind the brightness. Then silence. When the light faded, only debris remained. The Dravok were gone. Eli exhaled, his hands trembling. "We did it." But there was no reply. The lights inside the ship flickered weakly. Oren's hologram glowed faintly, his form unstable. "Damage critical," Oren said softly. "Core collapsing." "I cannot hold." Eli's heart clenched. No, don't you dare shut down now." "We made it." "You made it," Oren corrected. "I am proud of you." Eli stepped forward. "We can fix this." "I can." "You already did enough," Oren said. His voice was faint now, almost human. "Promise me. You will remember who we were. Not as weapons, but as dreamers." Eli's eyes burned. "I promise." The hologram flickered one last time, then faded into nothing. The ship's engines powered down. Silence filled the cockpit. Only the stars moved outside, bright and endless. Eli stood alone in the command chair, tears glimmering in his eyes. "Rest well, Commander." He turned back to the console. A single light blinked, a small storage drive labeled Oren Core, backup active. Eli smiled through the pain. "You always have a plan, don't you?" He pocketed the drive, looking out at the battlefield one last time. The nebula shimmered like a sea of ghosts, but for the first time it felt peaceful. Then the engines flared again. The warship, now quiet but alive, turned toward the stars. "Let's go home," Eli whispered. The ship vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind the ashes of two empires and the beginning of a legend that would spread across the galaxy. The story of the human who revived a lost alien warship, and the grumpy AI who became his greatest friend.